before I kind of could respond to anything, my host, which was a Mataji, a lady, she shouted, Ugram Viram Mahavishnu Jalantan Sarvato Mukham Nirsingam Visanam Badram Mrityu Mrityu Namamiham. So I ran to my altar and I sat in front of it because I thought, okay, if I die in front of my deities, not running down in the elevator. I can't even think of this. And then the earthquake stopped, and then I got to know through the news that the whole of the UAE was evacuated. Every building was evacuated, but there was no one single casualty. No one was hurt. Okay? Now, if the same earthquake happens here in Mayapur, will there be any casualties? Huh? Yes? He says no. Yes or no? There will be any casualties? Now, get the sentiments out of there. Just think, logically. There will be any casualties if there will be a massive earthquake in Mayapur? Most likely, right? Go to Nagara, the buildings are already falling apart, even without earthquake. Never mind with an earthquake, they're already tilted. Why? Huh? They don't have a good foundation. All the buildings in the UAE, they have a, earthquake proof foundation. So they all remain firm despite the earthquake. So similarly, in our lives, we need to have a very strong foundation. Because if without a strong foundation, we will also crumble. Because challenges are going to come, may not be an earthquake, but certainly we will get storms and heavy winds, right? And it comes in the way of suffering. Anyone experience some turbulence in life right now? No one? Suffering some turbulence, being shaken by material nature? Yes? Only two people? Okay, thank you. So, how do we respond to this? This is a theme of this, what is being explained here. How do we respond to that situation? Who do we blame? Whose fault is it? Is it karma? Is it the modes? Is it God, Krishna? Is it you? Who is the ultimate doer? Prabhupada is explaining in the Purport. And again, this is a topic which is discussed in Bhagavad Gita often, and that's why I'm saying we need to understand the interrelationship between the controller, the living entity, and material nature. And in Bhagavad Gita, you will find that sometimes the doer of activities or the cause of activities, there are different verses who address different doers, and sometimes we become bewildered, right? Prakrite kriyamana nigunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. That one, the living entity thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. And he is vimuda, means great ass. If we consider ourselves to be the doer, then we are bewildered, deluded, right? Then other verses seem to indicate that it's material nature who is the cause, right? Material nature is the cause of, actions and results. It's verse there in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. So now we have another doer. And in other verses says Krishna is the doer. So who is the doer? Who is the cause? Who is the cause? Anyone? Krishna is the cause. So it's Krishna's fault, right? It's Krishna's fault. If Krishna is the doer, it's Krishna's fault. All the problems in the world, children die of starvation in Ethiopia or in poor countries, crazy people taking leadership positions in the world, with COVID-19, domestic violence, child trafficking. Whose fault is it? Gosh, if God created all this, he must be a really bad God, He really did a bad job, right? What kind of world he's created, So imperfect, right? Is that what we think? But in the back of the mind, sometimes may still be there, sometimes. Why didn't God create a world where we are all happy and enjoying? Even if we do the wrong things, right? Why he has created a system of punishment and reward? But, the point is that, and now we begin to answer the question that, is he actually the cause? In one sense, he is the cause because he is the sanctioner. Nothing can take place without his sanction. And he has created the system. He has created the system of action and reaction. But here comes the crunch of the point, that according to the Bhagavatam, who is the cause of this, who is creating the suffering of the living entity? That we need to stretch. Who is creating the suffering? Where is the suffering coming from? Come on, where is the suffering coming? Who is responsible for the suffering? I am responsible. I am responsible. Why? Why I am responsible? What's the main problem? Understand the problem. Because if we don't understand the problem, how are we going to solve it? Fructifying the seeds. Okay, that's part of the problem, but it's not the root cause. That's part of the problem. Wrong use of the free will, basically. We have turned our backs away from Krishna. So he's not to be blamed. He has given us free will. And he has created a system. And we can act in that system according to how we choose. But the problem is often that we don't see the immediate, this is called adrishta. We cannot see what we do something, and the result of that is way ahead. We cannot see it. And what we are experiencing now is also the result of some activities that we cannot see. So the problem with all these five out of the six darshanas, the five darshanas, is that they all get something wrong. Some of them, they say that there is no Ishvara. Some of them, the Ishvara is there, but he is not so, involved. Some of them, they all have one of these aspects, they haven't fully explained it. So then Vyāsadeva, to actually summarize the whole Vedas, the whole Vedic literatures, he compiled the Vedanta Sutra, which is one of the six darsanas. But guess what? Even that Vedanta Sutra is subject to misinterpretation, right? Because we have the interpretation of Shankaracharya, and he also got it wrong. So like the bull is saying, vākya-bheda-vimohitāḥ. Vākya-bheda-vimohitāḥ. He says, we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. So even after the Vedanta Sutra was compiled in a very condensed form, then Vyāsadeva had to write the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And it's natural because it's written by the same author. And what is the natural commentary of the Vedanta Sutra? Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us is the cream, is giving us the essence. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam sukhamukad amrita dravasamitam pivata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika abhuvibabuka. The Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the desired tree of the Vedic literatures. And it has become even more sweet because it's been touched by the lips of Shukadeva Goswami. And what is the Bhagavatam? How is the Bhagavatam? The Bhagavatam is not only exposing the problem, but the Bhagavatam is giving the solution to all suffering. And that's why in this dialogue, the emphasis by the bull is not to identify the perpetrator. The Bhagavatam is teaching us a much deeper lesson. Because like it's been said before, or it's going to be said, I think it's before, it's been said that, no, it's going to be said later, but Parikshit Maharaj, he said, because Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring from the bull, he said, who has done this? And the bull is saying, well, we don't know. We are bewildered by different. We don't know what is the ultimate cause. And then Parikshit Maharaj, he identifies that you must be the personality of religion. Why? Because you understand that the same destination is awarded to one who identifies the same destiny to the person who commits the sin is awarded to the person who identifies the perpetrator. It's like, what? How do we understand this? But the point is that unless we understand what is the ultimate cause, we remain bound to the material existence. We remain in the material world. This blame game keeps us bound to the material existence. We need to take responsibility. We have that choice. We can make choice. But we tend to hide. And I'm speaking personally, not trying to point the finger at anybody, but we try to hide. Well, I had no other choice. I am conditioned. All my samskaras. I cannot respond in another way. It's my nature. Why you put me through this test? I can, But this is all excuses. It's all excuses. We have choice. Needless to say that it's a gradual process, and to come to the point of prema is the perfection of devotional service. But the point that is being made is that the cause of suffering, and coming back to Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu, he told us is the seedlings of sins. Okay? So that's one cause of suffering, is the result of our sinful activities. But what is the cause of the sins? What is causing us, forcing us to act sinfully? That's the root cause, but actually is desire. We have illicit desires in the heart, right? And where are those desires coming from? Someone said that right now. I only heard the voice. Who said? Is ignorance, avidya. So the ultimate cause of suffering is avidya, and that's why the great acharyas, they understand that the greatest welfare work for human society is preaching Krishna consciousness. Because nothing else is going to give a permanent solution. Everything is like patchwork, giving a band-aid. People need to understand three things. Who is the Lord? What is material nature? And what is my relationship to the two? So what is my relationship to material nature? Material nature is meant for my enjoyment. So I can exploit the resources of material nature and enjoy life. And the function of God is to provide for my material desires, make my life happy, because He is the Lord. Right? That's what many Christian people feel. My father wrote a letter to God one time, and he was thanking Him for providing for him his cigar, his coffee, thank you, That was his conception, So when the cigar and the coffee goes away, God doesn't exist anymore. Right? What is my relationship to material nature? Material nature is not meant for my enjoyment. Material nature is meant for my purification. My material situation, my suffering, now it's such a broad topic. To cover is very hard in little time, but the point there is that, okay, and what is my relationship to God? My relationship to God is that I am Krishna's, I'm His servant. And my life is meant for His enjoyment. And the irony of this is that the moment that I embrace this perspective in life, I become happy. I become peaceful. I become satisfied. But the more we become entangled, the more we contemplate the objects of the senses, which appear like nectar on the beginning, the more our mind becomes agitated, restless, and then we have to suffer material existence. So therefore, Bhagavatam is presenting the solution, and that's why it's saying that it's meant to bring a revolution in the minds, in the hearts of this world's misdirected civilization. Verse, what is it? I forgot just now. Janataga viplavo. Janataga viplavo. It's meant to, janataga, it's meant to actually remove, create a revolution. What is the revolution that the Bhagavatam is bringing into this world's misdirected civilization? The revolution is to turn away from sense enjoyment to devotional service. To remove ourselves from the center and put Krishna in the center. That's a revolution. That's the real purpose of human life. To the degree we are doing that, to that degree that we are actually making the best use of a bad bargain. And to the degree that we want to remain in the center, to the degree, and remaining in the center means even when suffering comes, we blame others. But a devotee, and Prabhupada explained it very nicely. Prabhupada said, there is one verse, he said, is like the guide for all devotees. He only said this of one verse. I know a few people know that verse here. Many people know the verse. But teachers aside. So what is the one verse that Prabhupada said that is the guide for all devotees? Hands up. He said this of only one verse, if all the books. One verse is the guide for all devotees. So this is the proof that Bhakti Shastri courses are good to study them. Because those who are doing Bhakti. What verse is that? Tate nukampam susamikṣamano bungyana evatma kritam vipakam ridvava purvir vidadan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhag. One who is earnestly waiting for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, patiently, all the while patiently suffering the reaction to his past misdeeds and offering obeisances to you with his heart, body, and words, he becomes eligible or the right candidate to enter into the kingdom of God. That's the guide for all devotees. Why? Because we are constantly facing suffering, constantly facing challenges. So how do we respond to that? Now, this could be misinterpreted sometimes, because it says that you should not blame the perpetrator. So that doesn't mean someone comes and does something bad, you cannot blame them. No, that's not what it means. But that is being said there to teach us the highest principle, that we should understand. Don't blame the agents of your own karma, Prabhupada said. Don't blame the agents of your own karma. There was one time Peter Burgos, he was a famous tennis coach, and he became like a very powerful, famous coach also for people. And he spent, like a few hours with Prabhupada, personal. And he actually was wealthy, and some of the devotees stayed at his home, and some of the things disappeared. Some things got stolen, and he was angry. So he told Prabhupada this, and Prabhupada said to him, don't become angry with the agents of your own karma. So when suffering comes our way, we should be able to see beyond the immediate situation. We deal with the immediate situation. You have to find who is the perpetrator, find him. Go to their respective authorities. But we need to understand that what's happening in my life is the result of something I have done in the past. And the Lord is so kind that He's just giving me a little token. Because if the Lord will not be here, if I wouldn't be taking shelter of Krishna, oh my God, the reaction I will be getting. I'll be dead by now. But the Lord is so kind, He's just giving me a little token. This is the key for forgiveness. This is the key for actually moving on in Krishna consciousness without resentment. And again, Sambandha Jnana, we understand what is the actual goal, what is the actual purpose of everything that is happening in my life. So what is the actual purpose that everything is happening in my life? Why is Krishna orchestrating all this suffering? Just for the sake of making me suffer? All the suffering just happening. Why is he orchestrating all this? He's wanting us to go back home, back to Him. He wants us to return to Him. So He is facilitating our own purification. That's it. We need to understand this. What is Krishna trying to teach me in this situation? The environment is friendly. Like Albert Einstein, he posed this question: is the environment friendly or not? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati tackled this question. And some of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples also. Is the environment friendly, yes or not? Is it friendly? Is it favorable? Is our environment favorable? Yes? No. Well, actually, the answer is yes. The environment is favorable for our advancement in Krishna consciousness. And when we see things from that perspective, we can actually respond with Krishna consciousness, rather than becoming bitter, becoming, bitter, becoming angry at the environment. Hare Krishna. So we started a little late. Anyway, the person who told me the class was at 8 o'clock is the person who told me finish at 8 o'clock. So darshan is starting now. The bodies are going now because of the darshan. So we finish the class here. But if you have any questions and you want to ask a few questions, you can ask. Okay? Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. One question comes up, is that the Lord is